Now the next part of that, dear brothers and sisters, and this is something I really want to allude to because I want us to understand this for a moment. You know, subhanAllah, in this last week, suddenly the discussions about World War III are out there, and I'm not going to give you a political analysis on what's going on. I'm just going to point out one simple factor. If you lived in Gaza right now, the end of times is already here. World War III has already happened to you. If you live in Khartoum right now, in Sudan, World War III is already happening to you. If you live in Congo, World War III is already happening to you. If you live in Idlib, World War III is already happening to you. If you live in a significant portion of the Ummah today, where the Muslim world spans, and where disaster is becoming abound, and what you see when you walk out of your tent or what resembles your home, and what you feel when you go back is nothing but chaos and instability, then the discussions about what might transpire in the rest of the world are completely irrelevant to you. And that's why it needs to be that much more relevant to us. If as believers the Ummah is like one body, and we are supposed to be feeling the pain of the Ummah, then it is already a state of emergency even before World War III arrives at our doorstep. Before we start to feel the possibility of us being expelled from our homes or of something difficult coming upon us like what's coming upon our brothers and sisters. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is actually putting our sincerity to test. If you don't already feel it, then that's actually a bigger problem than whether or not it materializes to the worst of your expectations. And so when they start talking about the wider region, and they start talking about the rest of the world, and you start to see Gaza, though the genocide has not slowed down at all, start to disappear from the headlines, know that this is part of the game that's being played all around. That for them, it looks just as bad today as it did yesterday. And you have to ask yourself why it didn't feel as bad for you today as it did yesterday, until there's a sense of fear of imminence of destruction and disaster that comes into our own lives. It's a way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts our sincerity to test. And one of the reasons why fitan, why tribulations spread, is because they go unchecked. And that is true for the fitan of corruption and for the fitan of spiritual decadence and people that go astray from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and introduce all sorts of other forms of munkar. When they go unchecked, they spread. And this is just one form of that when a person starts to think about, is the end of times near? And I'm starting to read these ahadith. Keep in mind, dear brothers and sisters, there's not a generation of Muslims that has ever been on the face of the earth except that they thought that Yawm al-Qiyamah would appear in their lifetime. From the time of the Prophet ﷺ until now, every single generation of Muslims looked at the ahadith of the Prophet ﷺ and said, this looks like it's here, this looks like it's here, this looks like it's here. It's only a matter of time, and that's actually the point. That a person should not obsess over the signs as much as they seek to prepare themselves for that moment.